This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. I've been using Anchor as my podcast host for a while now, and it's been a pleasure to use. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part, and you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Thursday, November 24th, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From Ars Technica, Amazon Alexa is a, quote, colossal failure, end quote, on pace to lose $10 billion this year. E-commerce and tech behemoth Amazon is in the midst of a wave of layoffs, which will reportedly total around 10,000 firings, and one of the hardest hit facets of their business empire will be the Alexa voice assistant unit, which, as part of the company's larger hardware unit, will lose the company somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 billion this year alone. This portion of their larger hardware unit has been around for about a decade and was once seen as the future of Amazon's e-commerce business, and possibly even the next step operating system for our personal devices, to the point where it was enthusiastically copied by many of its tech world competitors. The massive profits they were envisioning never manifested though, as most people who own these devices stick to simple use cases, like asking about the weather or setting a timer, and that gives Amazon fewer opportunities than they had hoped to monetize these relatively low-margin devices with advertisements. From the Associated Press, most Ukrainians left without power after new Russian strikes. A new wave of Russian attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure has knocked out electricity for the majority of Ukrainians, raising fresh concerns about locals' well-being as winter descends across the region. Ukrainians have seemingly done a pretty good job keeping energy flowing across the country, considering how many missiles and suicide drones Russia has been lobbing at them since the beginning of the invasion in late February. But in recent weeks, those attacks have become a lot more intentional, still hitting apartment buildings, nursing homes, and government buildings, but also taking out key nodes in their energy grid. Resultantly, officials have been encouraging Ukrainians with the ability to leave the country for the winter to do so. And from Axios, railroad workers are fed up but hoping to avoid a strike. An agreement brokered by the Biden administration that would fend off a railroad workers' strike right before the U.S. holiday season seems to have fallen apart, with 4 of the 12 relevant unions rejecting the deal, saying, basically, they want paid sick leave and the ability to take time off between the long, arduous shifts they work, which is something railroad owners have not been willing to budge on. Government officials and retailers have been rushing to remind the public that most seasonal items and gifts have already been stocked by stores, so the holiday shopping season shouldn't suffer over much if there is a strike. But economists have warned that if a new deal is not struck by the December 9th deadline, the U.S. economy would likely lose around $2 billion a day, and if the strike goes on for a month or more, hundreds of thousands of jobs at manufacturers reliant on the railroads and the 40% of U.S. freight they haul each year could be lost, alongside possibly significant inflationary impacts. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.